When I was 19, I was studying engineering, and I came to Sri Lanka on a tsunami relief trip. And while I was here, I met a young woman, a girl who was 11 years old, who had been raped by her father and had a 6-month-old child. As I looked at her and I realized that, there was no engineering solution that was going to fix her life, that she was up against so many different social and cultural obstacles, and yet at the same time I was in awe of how brave she was to actually come forward and to take her own father to court, to testify in court, to protect siblings, to protect her son, and she was 11 years old. And I was hooked, and that changed the course of my life. I didn't speak Sinhala, but I wanted to get to know this girl and other girls in the home, and I knew how to bead. I knew how to make jewelry. And so I brought out some beads and began to teach them to make necklaces. And over the course of one day, I saw the girls go from being very hesitant and needing permission for every single bead. Alia, miss, can I use this? Can I use this? To having their own patterns, their own sense of creativity. They were looking after each other's babies. And there was all of a sudden this life in the home that they lived in. And that was the beginning of Emerge. The girls loved making jewelry, but when I listened to their dreams and where they wanted to be, they wanted so much more. They wanted to be doctors or lawyers or teachers or the president of Sri Lanka. And so began to think about, how do we use beads and jewelry, like this is one of their pieces, to teach them other things, to teach them math skills and counting and business skills. And we ended up setting up a program where they actually go to a little store in the home that they live in and a bank, and they learn about accounting and budgeting and how to set up their own business unrelated to jewelry, so that when they leave these homes, even if they don't have any family or any place to go, they actually can take care of themselves. When I was in college, I took a semester off because we got a small grant from the World Bank, and so I packed my bags. I came over here to, set up our organization, hire up our staff, get the export license. And at the time, for me, Emerge was still a project. It was something I was doing in school. And then there was this one day when one of the girls in our class, it was Valentine's Day, and all the girls were making Valentine's Day cards for somebody at home or somebody they knew or a teacher. And there was one girl, and she was missing. And so I asked where she was, and the matron at the home said she was in her room. And I went and I sat with her, and she was sitting there just smoothing her sheets, looking down, and she wouldn't look at me. And so I sat down with her, and she grabbed my hand. She squeezed it. And we sat, I don't know, more than an hour, maybe a couple hours, just in silence. I was rubbing her back, she was rubbing the sheets. And she had received a card that day from her family saying that she could never go home, that they didn't want her anymore. And so while these girls were making Valentine's Day cards, there was no one there for her. And eventually we got a call. It was time for me to go, and the girls were, Alia, miss, time to go, taxi's here. And I got up to go, and this girl pulled me back, and she reached under her pillow, and she had made a card. And she took this piece of purple tissue paper off the shelf. It was the only thing she had. I don't know where she found it, probably in the trash. And wrapped this card up and gave it to me. And the card said, it was very simple. It just said, "Happy Valentine's Day, Alia, miss. I love you. You're my only family." And as I looked at the card, as I was driving back in the taxi, I realized that this wasn't a project. We were building a family, and with that there's accountability. You don't just leave. And it was at that moment, in that taxi, that I realized this was my life's work. I wasn't going back to engineering. I was coming back to Sri Lanka. At the beginning, Emerge was just me and 18 girls sitting around a table. And now we've worked with 552 girls. We're doubling our program size this year, and we're starting our own empowerment center that will support girls as they're leaving these homes in achieving their next steps, their goals. A lot of our girls don't have families to go back to. They've been rejected from their communities, and so this will be a safe place where they can actually take their next steps, get their first job, start their first business, go back to school. My dream is that Emerge will one day work with every girl who's had the courage to come forward, and that we will not only help each of these girls become self-sufficient, but really become leaders of change in this country and drive the movement. This is about them. This is about their voices. And I would love for us to also get into prevention and shaping policy and really try and get at the root of why this is happening. No child should go through this.